The year is 2026, a year that, for many, began like any other, but would soon be marked by a silence that crept across the world's most populous nation. A strange quiet has fallen over parts of China, not the quiet of peace, but the silence of absence. Streets that once echoed with the sounds of life now lie deserted, as if the very heart of the city has stopped beating. Once bustling cities now stand dark, their towering apartment blocks unlit, windows staring blankly over empty streets. The neon glow that once defined China's urban nights has faded, replaced by shadows and uncertainty. This isn't a disaster movie, it's the slow-motion collapse of the world's second-largest economy, unfolding in real time, with consequences that ripple far beyond its borders. A $52 trillion nightmare is dismantling China's foundations. Official statements promise stability, but the reality is whispered in shuttered shops and empty homes. The government's reassurances ring hollow to those who have lost everything. Millions have lost their life savings. The hum of construction cranes has faded to silence. Projects that once symbolized progress now stand frozen, monuments to broken promises. The dream of endless prosperity is gone, replaced by economic ruin hidden behind state-controlled media. Newsstands display headlines of hope, but the faces in the crowd tell a different story. One of anxiety and resignation. This is not a single crisis, but a convergence, a demographic cliff, a real estate implosion, crushing debt, and a technological blockade. Each challenge alone would be daunting. Together, they form a perfect storm. Each problem feeds the next, accelerating decline. The government, once seen as all-powerful, is now overwhelmed, plugging leaks in a dam cracking everywhere. Confidence in leadership is eroding as quickly as the economy itself. The rot is too deep to contain. We are witnessing the hollowing out of a superpower, not with a bang, but a slow, insidious implosion. Factories that once powered the world now stand idle, their silence a testament to lost potential. The lights are going out, factories are quiet, and hope is fading. Families huddle in darkened apartments, wondering what tomorrow will bring. The Chinese economic miracle, the story that defined the century, is over. The world has yet to grasp the consequences. Global supply chains are unraveling, and uncertainty spreads like a contagion. This is the story of how it all came crashing down. The collapse is not coming. It's already here, reshaping the future in ways we are only beginning to understand. The silence is the sound of a nation unraveling, and the world is watching, unprepared. As the lights dim in China, the shadows stretch across the globe, leaving everyone to wonder, what comes next? For decades, China's greatest asset was its people, a vast, young workforce powering its rise. The energy and ambition of millions fueled the country's transformation from a rural backwater into the world's manufacturing powerhouse. Cities swelled with opportunity, and the promise of a better life seemed within reach for an entire generation. Now, that asset is a liability. The nation is aging faster than any in modern history. Streets once filled with the laughter of children are now dominated by the slow steps of the elderly. The balance has shifted, and the consequences are profound. The one-child policy, enforced for decades, curbed growth but created a demographic time bomb. Families shrank, and the age gap widened, leaving a generation with few siblings and even fewer cousins. China's population is shrinking, years ahead of projections. The fertility rate has collapsed, and empty playgrounds now stand as silent reminders of a lost future. Young people, burdened by costs and anxiety, are choosing not to have children. High housing prices, job insecurity, and the pressure to care for aging parents make starting a family seem impossible for many. Even reversing the policy hasn't helped. Incentives and campaigns have failed to spark a baby boom, as the younger generation remains unconvinced. The 4-2-1 problem looms, one child supporting two parents and four grandparents. The burden on the young is immense, both financially and emotionally. A shrinking workforce means less production, slower growth, and soaring costs for healthcare and pensions. Factories struggle to find workers, and hospitals are overwhelmed by the needs of the elderly. Who will work, innovate, or pay taxes for the aging millions? The question haunts policymakers and families alike. China is getting old before it gets rich. The dream of prosperity for all is slipping away as the population ages. The demographic dividend is now a demographic tax. The costs of supporting the elderly are rising, straining both families and the state. The traditional family structure is crumbling, leaving the elderly isolated. Loneliness and neglect are becoming common, as fewer young people are available to care for aging relatives. The nation is growing older, quieter, and emptier. A permanent shift, not a temporary downturn. The vibrancy of youth is fading from daily life. Fewer workers, fewer consumers, fewer innovators. The economic engine that once roared is now sputtering. China is running out of people and time. The future, that once seemed so bright, is now clouded by uncertainty, as the nation faces challenges it has never seen before. For generations, owning property was more than just a financial decision for most Chinese families. It was a symbol of stability, success, and hope for the future. Parents would save for decades, pouring their life savings into a home, believing it was the surest path to wealth and security. For decades, real estate wasn't just an investment, it was the nation's savings account, a place where ordinary people parked their money, fueling the biggest property boom in human history. Cities transformed overnight, with skylines erupting in a forest of cranes and glass towers. At its peak, the Chinese property market was worth an astonishing $52 trillion, more than the combined real estate markets of the US, Europe, and Japan. The scale was unprecedented, reshaping the very fabric of urban life. But beneath the glittering surface, it was a bubble, driven not by real demand for homes, but by rampant speculation and easy credit. Apartments were bought and sold like lottery tickets, not as places to live. Local governments, hungry for revenue, sold land to developers at ever-increasing prices. Developers borrowed heavily to build, while citizens, convinced prices would never fall, bought multiple apartments as investments, often leaving them empty. The result? Tens of millions of empty homes, ghost towers that exist only as assets on paper, not as real homes for real families. Entire neighborhoods stood silent, waiting for residents who never came. Then, the government tightened credit, hoping to rein in the excess. Suddenly, developers like Evergrande defaulted on their massive debts. The illusion of endless growth shattered overnight, construction ground to a halt. Panic spread among investors and homeowners alike as the self-reinforcing cycle of buying and building collapsed in on itself. The fallout is catastrophic. The primary source of wealth for hundreds of millions of people is vanishing before their eyes, leaving families anxious and uncertain about their futures. Families are left with unfinished apartments, empty promises, and crushing debt. Many have invested their entire life savings, only to find themselves with nothing but concrete shells. The dream of middle-class security has turned into a nightmare. Once bustling cities are now dotted with dark, empty towers, a stark reminder of broken promises. The property market's collapse is not just a financial crisis, it's a social disaster. Protests erupt as families demand answers, desperate for justice and relief. The old model of perpetual growth is gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear. The once booming industry now stands still, its billboards faded, and its promises empty. The house of cards is falling, and there's no safety net to catch those who believed in the dream. The wealth was never real, just numbers on a spreadsheet, inflated by hope and speculation, now erased in an instant. Now, only the pain remains. For millions, the future is uncertain, and the scars of this collapse will linger for years to come. The real estate crash has vaporized a generation's dreams. Lifelong savings, yours, your parents, your grandparents, poured into an apartment, now worth half or left unfinished. Millions face retirement without savings, their life's work undone. The sense of betrayal is profound. Younger generations are trapped by debt, unable to marry, have children, or plan for the future. The dream of upward mobility is gone, replaced by struggle and despair. Consumer confidence has collapsed, people are hoarding what little they have left. Domestic demand has cratered, undermining Beijing's hopes for a consumption-driven economy. The wealth was always an illusion, propped up by belief in a market detached from reality. Now, the illusion is gone, and the pain is real. The ripple effects are everywhere. Spending dries up, growth stalls, hope fades. The middle class, once the engine of prosperity, is now paralyzed by fear. The collapse is psychological as much as financial. A generation's future has been stolen, and there's no getting it back. China's youth are quietly rebelling. Faced with bleak prospects, they're opting out, refusing to play a game they see as rigged. This is tangping, or lying flat, doing the bare minimum, rejecting the rat race. No overtime, no house, no marriage, no kids, just survival. It's a protest against a society demanding endless sacrifice for shrinking rewards. The promise of hard work leading to success is broken. The most educated generation faces the worst prospects in decades. Some go further by lawn, or let it rot. Active apathy, believing things are too hopeless to fix. This attitude is spreading, a sign of deep despair and lost faith in the system. When the young give up, the future dims. Who will innovate, build, or lead? The government censors these terms, but propaganda can't fix a broken economy. The quiet rebellion is a direct result of converging crises. It's a silent vote of no confidence in the future. The energy of youth is gone, and with it, the country's hope. Local governments once thrived on land sales to developers, funding everything from roads to salaries. With the property market collapsed, that revenue has vanished. The result: public services are crumbling, streetlights go dark, bus routes are cut, garbage piles up, teachers and civil servants face delayed or slashed pay. The state, once a symbol of stability, is failing its people. To fill the gap, local officials impose arbitrary fines and fees, strangling small businesses. They've borrowed trillions off the books through LGFVs, creating a mountain of hidden debt. This debt is a ticking time bomb threatening the entire financial system. When the government can't pay its workers or keep the lights on, trust erodes. The spectacular infrastructure was built on unsustainable debt. Now, the bill is due, and no one can pay. China's internal crises are compounded by an external threat, a US-led technological blockade. For years, China's rise depended on adapting foreign technology, but now it's locked out of the most advanced microchips. These chips power everything from smartphones to weapons. Without them, China's tech ambitions are throttled. The US and allies have cut off access, aiming to keep China from dominating future industries. Beijing is pouring billions into building its own chip industry, but it's years behind. Creating a cutting-edge ecosystem is a monumental task, and progress is slow. The tech war accelerates China's economic crisis, stifling innovation when it's needed most. Sanctions keep China stuck in low-value manufacturing, unable to climb the value chain. The Iron Curtain of technology is descending, and China is on the wrong side. The blockade deepens the sense of crisis and hopelessness. The path to a high-tech future is closing fast. None of these crises stand alone. They're deeply interconnected, forming a self-reinforcing spiral. Demographic decline means fewer buyers for apartments, worsening the real estate collapse. The property bust wipes out wealth, crushing spending and growth, making young people even less likely to have children. Local governments lose revenue, cut services, and default on debts, fueling instability. The tech blockade blocks new sources of growth, deepening youth despair and the lying flat movement. Each crisis amplifies the others, creating a vicious cycle. The government is trapped, solving one problem worsens another. The cascade has created a crisis of confidence, perhaps the most dangerous problem of all. The Chinese people are losing faith in the system, the party, and the future. The promise of prosperity is broken. The economic miracle is over. What remains is a government presiding over unsolvable, interlocking crises. The world expects a dramatic Lehman moment in China, but the collapse is already underway. It's not an explosion but a slow, grinding implosion, hidden by official statistics and propaganda. The decay is real: dark towers, unpaid salaries, and quiet despair. China was the engine of global growth. Its slump means pain for economies worldwide. A desperate China may flood the world with cheap goods, upending global markets. The geopolitical risks are rising. A weakened China may turn to nationalism or conflict to distract from crisis. The problems are too deep and interconnected for easy solutions. Demographic decline is irreversible. The debt mountain is insurmountable. Lost wealth and hope can't be restored by decree. The Communist Party faces an inevitable reckoning. The foundation it built is crumbling. The world is only beginning to see the cracks. The $52 trillion nightmare isn't coming. It's already here.